This video was made possible by patrons like Toven A. Cheers, Toven. Also, if you sign up now, you can get an exclusive TLDR lanyard absolutely free. Find out more at the end of this video. So, after doing a video on why the Conservatives would win the next election, we thought it was only fair to do another one on why they might lose. So in this one, we're going to be taking a look at 3 reasons the Tories might lose: housing, social care, and demography. Let's start with housing, and this is a major issue because the UK is currently in the midst of a housing crisis. Essentially, housing is more expensive than ever. Historically, the ratio between the median house price and the median income sat at 4, which means that the median house used to cost about 4 times the median annual salary. Today, however, it stands at 7.7 across England and Wales and 12.5 in London. That means that relative to income, houses are about twice as expensive as they used to be. Now, we could do a whole video on the housing crisis, and if you'd like us to do a video on exactly that, then please let us know in the comments below. The writer of this video has been desperate to do one for ages, but I'm not sure if there's demand for it. Anyway, this housing price issue is a problem for the Conservatives because homeowners are more likely to vote Conservative, and prohibitively high house prices have caused ownership rates to fall from 70.9% in 2003 to 63.9% in 2018. This means more private renters, who are more and more likely to vote Labour with every election. And things have got even worse over the pandemic. ONS figures suggest that house prices have risen by 10% year on year during the pandemic, the fastest annual rate of growth for 14 years, thanks largely to low interest rates and the stamp duty holiday. Anyway, the reason this poses an electoral problem for the Conservatives is that rising house prices mean fewer Conservative voting homeowners and more Labour voting renters. So what's the solution to this? Well, there's a whole load of factors that contribute to today's housing crisis. Historically low interest rates, the UK's weird case-by-case planning system, help to buy, and the root of this problem, the fact that there aren't enough houses. The obvious solution then would be to build more houses, and that was the plan, because originally Boris Johnson's housing strategy had 3 prongs: reform the Greenbelt, increase local housing targets via an algorithm, and move to a zonal planning system. However, rural Conservative voters hated this plan, mainly because they didn't like the idea of more houses in their area or in the Greenbelt, so prongs 1 and 2 got scrapped. The Conservatives are currently planning a bill which includes some stuff about zonal planning, but reports suggest that as many as 80 Conservative MPs are planning on voting against it, so it's unlikely to get through. The basic problem is that building more houses really upsets classic Conservative voters, which makes planning reform basically impossible. And this is what happened in the Chesham and Amersham by-election, where the Conservatives lost to the Lib Dems. Even though Chesham and Amersham are both inside London's Greenbelt and protected by a local area of outstanding natural beauty, which means that even under the new system they wouldn't be able to build any more houses anyway, the Lib Dems managed to win the constituency by focusing on the Conservatives' new housing plans. So that's the problem for the Conservatives. If they don't build more houses, then there'll be more Labour voting renters and fewer Conservative voting homeowners. But they can't build more houses without annoying their base and pushing them to the Lib Dems or even Labour. Problem number 2 is the NHS and social care. Essentially, post-coronavirus, the NHS is in trouble. The health service waiting list is about 5.3 million people long, and expected to get even longer as people who didn't come forward for treatment during the pandemic decide to in the aftermath. Sajid Javid claimed last week that this could be as many as 7 million people, which would bring the total waiting list to about 12 million people, meaning that 1 in 4 households will have someone on the waiting list by September, which could be a massive political problem for the Conservatives. And realistically, this problem can't be solved unless the government spends more money on the NHS. The Conservatives have got an equally massive problem when it comes to social care though. Essentially, the UK's population is both growing and ageing, which means that the government will need to spend a lot more money on social care within the NHS if they want to maintain the current levels of care. So the Conservatives basically have to spend a lot more money on the NHS, otherwise it will no longer work for working-aged people, who will end up stuck on long waiting lists. Or it could hit pensioners, who won't end up with high-quality social care. They could fund the NHS by either borrowing more or raising taxes, but neither of these options are great. Borrowing is obviously an economic risk. If interest rates go up, then servicing the national debt becomes more expensive, but it's also a political risk, because it might make the Conservatives look fiscally irresponsible. That just leaves taxes, and raising taxes is unpopular for obvious reasons, but it's also something the Conservatives expressly ruled out in their 2019 manifesto. To be fair, that manifesto was pre-COVID, so it would be unfair to expect them to stick by every word of it. But regardless, it looks like they've decided to fund social care with an increase in either income tax or national insurance. This is unlikely to be popular with either classic Conservative voters who are promised a tax freeze, or younger voters who will see even more pressure on their wages to pay for something that doesn't really affect them. It's also unlikely to even be enough, because raising national insurance by 1 pence for employees and the self-employed would only raise about £6 billion a year, which is enough to maintain social care costs, but is unlikely to make any dent on the waiting list. Essentially, maintaining the current level of NHS care requires either more borrowing or more taxes, and neither of those are easy, especially for the Conservatives. The third issue, though, is demography. As time goes on, the Conservatives rely more and more on older voters, and conversely, younger voters are less and less likely to vote Conservative. Now, this isn't a problem for the Conservatives in and of itself, because it might just mean that people get more Conservative as they get older. However, at least according to Pew data from the US, this is no longer true. Today's young people just don't get more Conservative as they get older. Pew data shows that actually millennials and even Gen Xers have got more liberal as they've got older. This is probably because it's not that people get more Conservative as they get older, it's that they get more Conservative as they buy a house, get married and have kids, which fewer and fewer people are able to do. This isn't the only demographic challenge the Conservatives are facing though. The Conservatives also do badly with ethnic minorities, urbanites and the university educated. And all three of these groups are expected to grow over the coming years. Essentially, today's young people are no longer becoming more Conservative as they age, and the UK of the future is going to be better educated, more urban and more ethnically diverse, all of which bode badly for the Conservatives. So those are the core issues we see the Tories facing as they head towards re-election in 2024 and beyond. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Will the Conservatives be able to conserve their lead, or is the left inevitably on the rise? As I said at the start of this video, we're running a Patreon promotion this month whereby every Patreon backer paying more than $5 a month can get an absolutely free, never for sale lanyard. To claim yours, just sign up to be a TLDR patron and then click the link to the store. Signing up not only snags you a lanyard, but also gets you other perks like early access to videos, exclusive live events, merch discounts, and more. Find out what you can get and sign up by clicking the link in the description. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when those videos come out. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.